What is up, guys, and thank you very much for joining me. You're very welcome to another video here on Degenerate Watch. I recently came across this story and I did think it was worthy of a video because I think you'll agree that this guy meets the degeneracy criteria to a T. We're going to be taking a look at the case of fugitive inmate Casey White, who was finally back behind bars in Alabama after a 10-day prison break came to a dramatic end recently. Casey White was raised in Alabama. It's reported that he had a long history of mental illness and that he had difficulties with the law. The 38-year-old has a long rap sheet going back over 2 decades when he was arrested over a domestic violence incident involving his own mother in 2006. 4 years later, in 2010, he pleaded guilty to attacking a male relative with an axe handle and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. At the time of his prison escape last month, he was serving a 75-year sentence for a 2015 crime spree where he tried to murder his ex-girlfriend, held victims at gunpoint and shot a dog dead.
Sat down with former Limestone County Sheriff Mike Blakely. He arrested Casey White in 2015. Now, Blakely tells me he's known Casey White since he was a little boy, but he was a man on the run from law enforcement in 2 states when Blakely encountered him in December of 2015. Now, Blakely recalled the events leading up to the standoff between his deputies and White in 2015. He said White broke into his ex-girlfriend's house, shot at 2 of her friends, and shot her and killed her dog. Blakely says after that, White went on a hunt for a car, attempting 2 carjackings and successfully stealing a 3rd car. Following a late-night chase, Limestone County deputies cornered White, and that's when White began pleading for the sheriff to intervene.
Just put the gun down. The sheriff will be here in a minute, okay? I got there just a few minutes afterwards, and of course, you know, it was like a standoff. Everybody was there with the AR-15s, and Casey standing out in the middle of the roadway with 2 Glock 40 caliber pistols, one stuck to each side of his head, and talking about killing himself. And when I got to trying to talk to him, he wanted me to call his mama and tell her he loved her, and I kept trying to talk Casey into, you know, surrendering and telling him nothing was going to happen. He said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to make y'all kill me," which could have been a very, very bad scene, but I put him in my truck and brought him back up to the jail where he stayed there for a couple of years before actually getting sentenced and being sent to the penitentiary.
One of those carjackings that they mentioned in the report there actually happened in Tennessee, and he's still facing charges in Tennessee over that. But he was sentenced to 75 years in prison for everything else in Alabama. White is also currently awaiting trial for the 2015 stabbing murder of a 58-year-old mother of 2, Connie Ridgway. Miss Ridgway was found stabbed to death in her apartment in Rogersville, Alabama on the 23rd of October 2015. The case went unsolved for 5 years until White sent a letter to the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office confessing to the crime. During a subsequent interview with authorities, he allegedly gave details about the crime that had not been made public and which only the killer could have known. Prosecutors say he was paid to carry out the hit on his victim. He was charged in 2020 with 2 counts of capital murder. After confessing to the murder, he initially pleaded guilty before changing his plea to not guilty by reason of mental illness. His trial is to begin in June, and if convicted, he faces the death penalty. So that leads us all the way up to the events that transpired very recently. White was serving out his 75-year sentence at the William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility in Jefferson County, Alabama. But in 2020, as I mentioned, he confessed to the 2015 stabbing of Connie Ridgway and was charged with 2 counts of capital murder. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity and was brought to the Lauderdale County Detention Centre to attend court hearings in the case. While there, he came into contact with Vicky White, who is no relation to him, they just have the same second name, who was working as the Assistant Director of Corrections for Lauderdale County. Vicky had worked there for 17 years and was described by others as a model employee who others looked up to. She was a widow who had no children, and she was 18 years older than the 38-year-old Casey White. Despite their age difference and the fact that they were both on opposite sides of the law, they seemed to strike up some sort of a jailhouse romance starting in early 2020. This included the two having contact outside Vicky's work hours and her giving him extra food among other privileges. As Casey's trial was approaching, Vicky started preparing for his escape. She sold her home for about $140,000 under its actual value. She sold her vehicle and she also purchased a rifle and a shotgun. She also purchased an orange 2007 Ford Edge. She purchased clothes for Casey and also withdrew $90,000 from various different bank accounts. During this time, she also took Casey out of the jail for a 40-minute trip, which authorities suspect that this may have been a trial run for the actual escape. On the 28th of April 2022, Vicky stayed the night at a Quality Inn hotel in Florence, Alabama. She had only just submitted her paperwork to retire from the jail, effective the next day. She told her colleagues that she just wanted to retire and spend more time at the beach. The next morning, the 29th of April 2022, she checked out of the hotel at about 5:20 in the morning. She left the orange Ford Edge parked about a 10-minute drive away from the jail. She then got a lift to the jail with a co-worker, apparently stating that she had locked her keys in her car. After starting her day at work, she told the other guards at the facility that she was taking Casey to the courthouse for a mental health evaluation. But unknown to them, there was no actual mental health evaluation scheduled for that day. She also told him that she was feeling a bit unwell and that after dropping Casey to the courthouse, she was going to go to an urgent care centre to get checked out. It was against jail policy for her to transport the prisoner on her own in a sheriff's vehicle, but due to her position as Director of Corrections, nobody questioned her. Although I'm sure it raised a few eyebrows and they thought it was unusual. Nobody started looking for them until about 3:30 in the afternoon, and of course by that stage they had already transferred into the SUV. They had driven northwards and had gotten a good head start. They later abandoned the Ford Edge and bought a Ford F-150 for $6,000 off a man in Tennessee. They then later abandoned this vehicle at a car wash in Indiana and purchased a Cadillac. They then drove this Cadillac to a place called Motel 41 in Evansville, Indiana. There they paid a man $100 to use his ID card to book a room at the Motel 41. This man actually had no clue who these people he was helping were. And the Vanderburgh County Sheriff said that he hasn't committed any crime in helping them book the room. On the 4th of May, the police were called to the car wash in Evansville, Indiana, where the F-150 was abandoned. The manager of the car wash had spotted the car there for a number of days and became suspicious, so he informed the authorities. But at the time, the police didn't connect it to the escape. The next day, a tow truck driver who had picked up an orange-coloured Ford Edge that was abandoned on the side of the road about 2 hours north of the prison realised that it was involved in the escape and contacted the police. On the 9th of May, the police identified a man who was captured on CCTV at the car wash in Indiana as Casey White. The footage showed Vicky and Casey getting into a Cadillac. An eagle-eyed Evansville police officer spotted the car parked outside the Motel 41, so the police started watching it. The police seen Vicky and Casey leaving the motel and getting into the Cadillac, so they pursued. They led police on a chase northwards on US Highway 41. They then drove into a car park and onto a grass field, and it's then that the police rammed the car into a ditch. Vicky can be heard on the 911 recording saying something along the lines of that she's concerned that the airbags are going to deploy and kill them. She can also be heard saying that they should get out and run. The police managed to take Casey into custody, but unfortunately for Vicky, she died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. So now we'll quickly take a look at the dashcam footage of Casey being taken into custody by the officers.
Where are they? Right there. Here, get up. Alright, we need medical Sean himself. Clear, 41 and Birch. Hey, we're pulling up. I got a med tag.
The police found out afterwards that the couple had planned to shoot it out with police if they were ever cornered. So luckily for the officers involved here, they managed to contain the incident before the shootout started. But unfortunately for poor Vicky, she ended up taking her own life. I can only imagine the pressures of facing what she had done were just too much for her to bear. This leaves an awful lot of unanswered questions, especially about why Vicky took part in this in the first place. It's clear from the fact that she purchased the truck, sold her house, took out some money, bought clothes for him and purchased wigs for herself to disguise herself, that she was the main mastermind behind this plan. Casey had everything to gain from this, but Vicky on the other hand had everything to lose. A long and bright career in law enforcement with nothing but praise from the people that she worked with. There's a possibility that maybe Vicky was just naive. Maybe Casey was a smooth talker and was able to manipulate her into doing this for him. Because this wasn't White's first attempt to escape, nor was it the first time he had gained the trust of correctional officials. In 2020, while White was being held in Lauderdale County's detention centre, authorities learned he planned to escape the jail and take a hostage. You have to wonder, was she actually thinking straight? Because there's no way they were going to get away with this. In days gone by, when there wasn't the technology that we have now and there was no internet, maybe you could escape across the country and lay low and not get detected. But these days, a bit of news coverage, a little share on social media, and everybody knows who you are and everybody's looking out for you. It just really baffles me how they even had a notion that this was going to end well at all. And don't get me wrong, I don't condone at all what Vicky did. She was in a position of trust in the county and she broke that trust. But for what she did, she didn't deserve to die. I just think it's unfortunate that these two crossed paths and she ended up getting tangled up in all of this. Vicky's not here to tell her side of the story, so I guess we'll really never know what the real dynamic was and what was going on inside of her head. The positive things that we can take from this is, number one, he's back behind bars, this crime spree is over and nobody else can be hurt while he's locked up. And also now, because he's captured, he'll be able to stand trial for the murder of Miss Ridgway. And Limestone County Sheriff's Office said it was reopening the investigation into the death of Christy Shelton, which was White's ex-girlfriend. On the 1st of February 2008, White's then ex-girlfriend Christy Shelton was shot in the chest by a sawed-off shotgun inside an Alabama home belonging to White's mother. Miss Shelton, who was 31, died on the scene. White was in the home with her at the time of the shooting but was ruled out as a suspect. Back then, officials ruled the 31-year-old's death as a suicide and the case was closed. But Miss Shelton's family has always doubted that version of events, with her daughter Summer Mitchell telling News 19 that nothing was really done to investigate her death at the time. So hopefully now that the investigation has been reopened, her family will get some questions answered, and if White is responsible, that he'll be brought to justice for it. So if I get any updates on that investigation, or I get any updates on how he got on in court for Connie Ridgway's murder, I'll let you guys know. But I do hope you enjoyed this video, as it was something a little different on the channel, and if you did, let me know down below in the comments, and drop a like if you did enjoy it, as it gets the video out to more people. All important links are down below in the description, and if you want to help support the channel, why not consider becoming a channel member? Just hit the join button down below this video to find out more. I'll be back again very soon with another video here on Degenerate Watch, but if you haven't checked out all of our videos, why not check out some that should be appearing on screen now. Until next time guys, stay safe, take care, peace.